Welcome back to the channel where I go and actually give you my recommendations up front for new streaming content, and then you stay tuned to see if I can validate or back up my recommendations. Today, I'm going to go and actually review the Eternaunt, Eternaunt on Netflix. I'm probably totally screwing that up. I want to go and actually say astronaut, but that's not how it's pronounced because this is an Argentine movie. So we're going to go and go Eternaunt, and you guys can just go ahead and actually tell me how horrible I am at my enunciation.
That's the plan? Now what? It was a bad plan. You planned things badly.
Now, for target audience members, people that are into sci fi or alien films or survival tales, I'm going to go ahead and actually suggest that you watch the first episode of this particular series. Ironically enough, if you're a casual viewer, that you're not a fan of sci fi or survival films or anything like that, and you're just trying to see if this is worth your time, I'm also going to give you the recommendation to watch the first episode of this particular series. Now, stay tuned, and you go ahead and actually see why I'm giving it those recommendations.
No se trata solo de sobrevivir, sino de recuperar nuestro hogar.
Tarde o temprano la ayuda va a llegar.
The Eternaunt is a sci-fi action drama that premiered in April of 2025 on Netflix. The series has 7 episodes that run about 45 minutes each, and it stars Ricardo Darin as Salvo, Carla Peterson as Elena, and Cesar Toscano as Favali. Now, IMDb has a synopsis like this. One summer's night in Buenos Aires, a mysterious deadly snowfall wipes out most of the population and leaves thousands stranded. Juan Savano and his friends embark on a desperate struggle for survival. Everything changes when they discover that the toxic snowstorm is only the first attack by a foreign army invading Earth. The only way to stay alive is to join together and fight. No one will survive on their own. And understanding that this is an Argentine film that is actually filmed in Spanish, that you can go and actually watch that way and watch the English subtitles, or you can actually listen to the English dub for you that are just a little bit slower, and watch it that way on there, whichever way that you go ahead and actually feel compelled to do it. But the series in and of itself is based on an Argentine series that was a comic book by the same name, which was actually produced or actually written by Hector Herman Osterhead and Francisco Solano Lopez. Okay, so those are the people that did that. So it's an existing IP that's probably really big in Argentina. It's just coming over here to the stateside on Netflix, and we're trying to determine if it's right for us. Now, everything about the description lets me know that this is my kind of series because I love sci-fi, especially when you go ahead and actually get involved like some type of mystery or secret invasion or action happening or whatever like that. I love that type of stuff. And then when you turn it into a survival type of premise, you are getting the best of the best. So I would go ahead and actually put this a lot like characteristics of The Last of Us, which has actually been one of the best series that have been made in the last few years. The Mist, which is a Stephen King classic tale, or Fallout, which very much like The Last of Us has been a critically acclaimed series adapted from video games. So those are some of the premise and things that it actually is inspired by, similar types of things, and you can go ahead and actually look at that's what you're trying to grab onto when you go and actually think about this kind of series. So for all of those premises of being sci-fi, being a survival thing and mystery and all that kind of stuff, I am a target audience member for this. This is right up my alley. And the reason why I want you to know that is because you should know where your reviewer is coming from when they give you those recommendations. So I give you my bias up front. I'm the target audience member for this, but I'll go and actually try and keep it balanced for you so you can really make a decision. If you like how that sounds, do me a favor, click like, share, subscribe. And now let me go and actually tell you about the first 2 episodes. So both of the episodes were very slow embers, and I say embers instead of burn because if I'm going to be honest, neither one of these episodes burned for me at any point in time. It had interesting premise and aspects to it, but nothing that really kind of stood out for me that really kept me engaged. In the initial scene, there was some tension built on this boat, and it was very freaky and kind of got you into it, kind of drew you in. And then the subsequent scenes after that for like the next 20 minutes were like it took the tension right out of you so that you could go ahead and actually forget that, oh, this is an entertaining kickoff or what have you. So they drew you away from the tension and got you into this mundane aspects of things. Now it's meant to, the following scenes, like the next 20, 30 minutes, are meant to set up the main characters that you're supposed to follow, how they relate to each other, some of their personality quirks, the usual type of setup and things like that. But it was so slow moving and acted and story told that the first episode is kind of one of those ones where you're like, okay, if I like whatever tension that they're building, if I like the characters, it can be, a good build up. And they do go and actually hint within that first episode of giving you the hints of the snowfall effect and things of that nature. So there is some intrigue and mystery there, but there was just a lot of slow burn within that first episode. The slow pacing aspects of things is supposed to go ahead and actually really give you tight storytelling, meaning that if I'm going to go and actually set up a slow burn of a series, a movie, whatever the case may be, I should have pretty good tight control over the storytelling, motivations, world building, all that kind of good stuff. It should be, pretty consistent, pretty airtight. Unfortunately, we don't quite get that with this particular series. It just doesn't quite get there. There's many times where I ask myself, why are they doing that? Why would they do this? What's going on here? It doesn't make sense what they're doing or what have you. And when you do that type of thing, it takes you out of the series, it takes you out of the movie, it takes you out of the moment, and you're sitting there worrying about stuff that you're not supposed to be wondering about. And there's too many times that happened, especially in the second episode. I'll just go ahead and actually tell you that at the end of me watching these first two episodes, I kind of was like, what did I just watch? Not that it was it wasn't the most horrible thing that I'd ever watched ever before, but because of some of the gaps in the story and the world building and some of the things that were happening and motivations and things like that, I did not concentrate enough on the story because I kept getting pulled out of it. And so ultimately it just didn't go ahead and actually nail me down at the end of those two episodes for me to go ahead and actually say, wow, this was super entertaining and engaging and what have you. So those are like my initial thoughts. Let me go and actually break down my two categories so that you can go and actually understand where I'm coming from just a little bit deeper. So first, let me talk about storytelling. The reason why we're at the C- level for storytelling is that there was very slow pacing. And slow pacing is fine, again, if you're meaning to flesh out the characters, the story, the world building, all that kind of good stuff. But when your character telling is not compelling, when the story is not entertaining, and the world building has plot holes through it, all the way through it, it will go ahead and actually drive you crazy of like, I can't just concentrate on the story because the things that my characters are doing or what's actually happening around them does not make sense. And therefore, I can't be drawn into the world. It just doesn't happen. Now, I don't go and actually do spoilers, so I'm not going to do anything to spoil this, but I will go and actually say there's plenty of parts that I just shook my head and just really not getting it. Like the snowfall itself, that it's the main driver of like the millions of death and things of that nature, but it doesn't go ahead and actually seem to have the same impact later in the episodes. And that's very inconsistent. I mean, for the main thing to happen there and it's not consistent or what have you, there's just things that I have questions there and it kind of pulls me out. There's no explanation or reason or understanding that makes me kind of understand it. And it makes it difficult to go and actually move on, especially since there's the characters were kind of like not developed and not intriguing. So I'm spending my time gazing at these plot holes when I probably should be caring about the story or the characters more, but I just didn't get to it. So that's the reason why I have the C- for the storytelling. I was way more generous on the acting because I did like most of the acting on this. I think for how the characters were written, the actors did a reasonable job in conveying what the material that they had to work with. As is the case with most foreign films, something might be lost in the translation of watching. It might also be lost in the environment or setting that the film is in. Because again, me being someone that is born in North America, being a black man speaking English only, I don't have the same, context of some places in the world and things of that nature. So I will acknowledge that there might be an opportunity for the acting level and what material that they were given with might be taken a little bit differently somewhere else. But I have to base this off of my experience. And from my experience, the acting was decent. It just, they couldn't do a whole lot with the material that was there. So that's why I was kind of generous with the acting, because I think for what was there, they did a decent job. Overall, The entertainment value of this series was low for me. I just can't put it any other way. If this comic series is very popular over in Argentina and it's just and maybe it really takes off after the second or third episode or something like that, that's totally possible. Especially for me being a target audience member, I want this to go ahead and actually be entertaining, but it just wasn't there for me. I couldn't get invested into the characters. I couldn't get invested into the intrigue of the snowfall. It just wasn't happening. The inconsistencies between like the whole snowfall thing and people's motivations and actions, it just kind of took me all out of it. Again, if they introduced kind of like maybe what the outside influence was within the first couple episodes, that might have taken some of the attention away from some of the other stuff and kicked in the story to another level to really keep me intrigued or what have you. But I didn't get that, and so it fell flat for me. Again, acknowledging that sometimes watching a foreign film with different experiences might take something out of it. That's why I go ahead and actually say for the target audience members watching one episode is the same for the casuals watching one episode, because you may get something out of this that maybe I wouldn't actually miss because I acknowledged that the acting was good. And when you look at the overall cinematography and the presentation, that was good as well. So unfortunately, the story didn't go ahead and actually make a whole lot of sense for me, but I think there's enough value here that people should go and actually give it a one episode watch to see what you think about it. So that's what I have for the Eternaunt on Netflix. Check it out. Thank you for staying for the entire review, especially if you cringed every time I enunciate the title, because I'm totally sure that I totally screwed up that. And I don't go and actually watch anybody else's review or research how to pronunciate certain things on there, because I just go off my own understanding for things of that nature, just give you my honest review. So that's why that stuff happens, just so you know. So if you liked any of this, do me a favor, click like, share, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. If you need to watch another one of my reviews, this is the video that the algorithm thinks that you might like of mine. But until the next time, I'll holler at you. Take care of yourself.
Now that's a happy ending. Or is it? Because everything's over now, and all that's left is you and the infinite void.